Hi, I'm Melissa Savati, Director of U.S. Language Services. I've been active in the translation industry in various capacities for over 15 years. I worked as a translator, a reviser, and as a project manager with clients in both the U.S. and Europe. Since 2018, U.S. Language Services has been providing translation services to thousands of clients across all industries, from government agencies to law firms to individuals. Continuing with our series on licensed professions, in this video we're going to walk you through the process of getting licensed as a foreign trained nurse in the U.S. If you're a nurse planning to move to the U.S., you'll need to obtain a license to continue your career. The great news is that many states are willing to approve nurses with foreign credentials and have clear steps to follow. Throughout the process, you may face challenges and you may be tempted to take a job outside of the field of nursing, but then you wouldn't be using your specialized skills and training. That's why it's important to realize that validating your foreign credentials is entirely possible and it will allow you to start practicing as a nurse in the U.S. and earning a solid salary. To help you along the way, we'll guide you through the steps to get your license. As we go through the video, we'll reference various web pages, licensing boards, and other resources, so we'll include links to those in the video's description. All right, let's get started. If you're wondering if it's worth the effort to become a nurse in the United States, the answer is yes. According to the National Library of Medicine, employment opportunities for nurses are projected to grow faster than any other profession in the United States through 2026. This increased demand is driven in part by the fact that people in the U.S. are living longer thanks to medical advancements. Beyond that, many nurses currently working in the U.S. are expected to retire within the next decade, leaving significant gaps that the healthcare system will need to fill. In addition to fulfilling a need, there's a good chance you'll earn a competitive salary. According to Indeed.com, the average pay for nurses nationwide is $46 an hour, which is around $95,000 annually if you work full-time. You could earn even more in other states like California, where the average pay for nurses is $53 an hour, or New York, where nurses make around $50 an hour. Okay, so now that you know getting your nursing license is worthwhile, let's look at how you can get started. One of the first things you'll need to know is who will grant you your nursing license. Nurses carry out essential and delicate tasks every day, from monitoring vital signs to administering medications. Given the importance of these duties, it's no surprise that nurses go through a rigorous review process before receiving their licenses. While there are national organizations like the American Nurses Association and the American Association of Colleges of Nursing, your license will ultimately come from the state where you plan to work. For example, if you want to work as a nurse in California, you'll need approval from the California Board of Registered Nursing. Or if your goal is to practice in New York, you'll need to be licensed by the New York State Education Department's Office of the Professions. To find your specific state board, the National Council of State Boards of Nursing, also called the NCSBN, has created an interactive map. There you see the phone number, street address, and local time for each state nursing board. We'll provide contact information for licensing boards in California, Florida, Illinois, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, and Texas, which are 7 of the most popular states for people moving to the U.S. to find work. If you need contact information for a different state's licensing board, you can usually find it through a quick Google search. Now let's talk about the best way to contact your licensing board. To begin with, if English is not your first language, you might consider preparing an email in your native language and having it translated to ensure it is clear and professional. We would be happy to assist with the translation of your communications with your nursing board to ensure that your questions and concerns are conveyed accurately. In your email, be sure to include as much detail as possible. It will help both you and the state board if you provide your full name, phone number, regular address, and email address to make it as easy for them to get back to you as possible. If you prefer to call the licensing board, remember that office hours are typically from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday, and that the U.S. has several different time zones. As a nurse who's been educated in another country, you'll need your foreign credentials evaluated by a professional service. Credential evaluation services review the academic and professional qualifications of nurses from other countries, then translate them into a format that's recognized and understood in the U.S. healthcare system. They then provide a report that explains how your foreign grades, degrees, licenses, and qualifications compare to those in the U.S. The most common credential evaluation service for nurses relocating to the United States is the Commission on Graduates of Foreign Nursing Schools, or the CGFNS. In fact, many states like California, Florida, and New York prefer incoming nurses to use this specific service. One great thing about the CGFNS is that they're a nonprofit organization with a specific mission to help nurses from abroad who want to work in the United States. So they'll be ready to answer your questions and give detailed guidance based on years of experience. Of course, there are other credential evaluation companies you can work with as well. If you're unsure which organization you should use, you can contact your state licensing board and ask them which credential evaluation service they suggest. These services offer different levels of evaluations. A basic service, often called the general evaluation or course-by-course evaluation, might cost between $70 and $200. A more comprehensive evaluation, which gathers additional information, could cost between $150 and $500. The processing time for credential evaluations can range from a few days to 4 weeks, but most evaluation companies offer expedited services for an added fee of somewhere between $80 and $150. When using a credential evaluation service, you'll need to gather several important documents, including things like your original degree certificate or diploma, your original transcripts, and mark sheets. And if your education wasn't in English, you'll need official English translations of your documents. To ensure they're accurate and will be accepted, it's important to use a professional translation service. So let's talk about certified translations. It's important to understand that even if you are fluent in English, you're not permitted to translate your own documents. In most cases, evaluation agencies will provide you with various options depending on whether you're going to have your documents translated in the US or abroad. So be sure to check with the evaluation agency because they may have certain requirements. Some evaluation agencies may offer translation services for a fee. However, since US Language Services specializes in translation, our rates are usually much more competitive and can be as much as 50% less than what evaluation agencies charge. Also, if the agency or the board needs a translation to be sent directly to them, we're happy to do so. It's important to understand that certified translations do not indicate the direct correspondence between a degree obtained abroad and its equivalent in the US. Certified translations convert your documentation into English, allowing the evaluation agency or licensing board to review your academic and professional accreditations. Certified translations do not change the value of a mark obtained. For example, if you earned a 10 in a country where subjects are numerically evaluated from 1 to 10, your certified translation will indicate that you earned a 10, not an A+. In addition to any document required for the credential evaluation process, you may want to have any letters of recommendation or certificates of work experience translated for future job applications. To obtain a certified translation from U.S. Language Services, you can place your order through our website or request a quote. You can simply send scanned copies or photographs of your documents. For the purpose of the translation, it's not necessary to send the physical documents. We'll include the corresponding links in the description. Now, let's get into how to demonstrate your level of English proficiency. As a nurse, your English skills are going to be crucial to your work. Whether you're administering medication, managing pain levels, or updating a patient's records, you'll be reading, speaking, and writing in English every day. Aside from your daily tasks, you'll also need English skills to take continuing education courses to maintain your license. Because of this, nearly every state board of nursing requires you to demonstrate that you can speak English. For some states, if you can prove that your nursing education was imparted in English, that will be sufficient evidence that your skills are adequate. However, other states might require you to take an exam to test your English proficiency. Even if you choose to work in a state that doesn't require an English test, passing a well-known English exam could increase your chances of getting hired at a hospital or private practice. So it may be smart to take an exam and boost your chances of landing a job. There are 3 main English exams that state nursing boards typically accept. The first one is a test of English as a foreign language, often abbreviated as TOEFL. The second is the International English Language Testing System, also called the IELTS. And the third is the Michigan English Test, which is called the MET. If you're unsure about which exam to take, you can contact the licensing board in your desired state and ask for their recommendation. Many states have specific paths for internationally trained nurses. Often this process is called something like licensure by exam, referring to the National Council Licensure Examination, which is informally referred to as the NCLEX. Fortunately, most states are well prepared for nurses from other countries and already have a pre-planned path for licensure. These states often create a webpage or PDF explaining their specific requirements for internationally trained nurses. Let's review the important information in the most popular states for nurses who are hoping to immigrate to the U.S. The California Board of Registered Nursing created a detailed document providing information for international nurses. For starters, you need to prove that your education is equivalent to the board's minimum licensure requirements using a credential evaluation report. Then you must pass a criminal background check, provide your social security number, submit official transcripts from your graduate nursing program, and provide a copy of your nursing license from your home country. It's also worth noting that the California Board of Nursing only mandates the TOEFL English exam if they have doubts about your English comprehension. However, it might be wise to pass the exam preemptively just in case. After the board has accepted your application, you must take the NCLEX. In Florida, there are similar requirements for nurses educated outside the jurisdiction of the National Council of State Boards of Nursing. Firstly, if you're planning to take the NCLEX, the Florida Board of Nursing requires your education to be evaluated by a credential evaluation service. The board also requires that an original copy of the report be sent directly to them from the agency. After that, you'll need to fill out an application for licensure in Florida. Then you need to prove that you have a social security number. After that, you'll have to demonstrate your English competency by showing that your nursing program was taught in English or by passing an exam like the TOEFL, MET, or IELTS. As for Illinois, the requirements are nearly identical to Florida. Candidates will need to pass the NCLEX and provide a credential evaluation report. if your nursing program wasn't taught in English, you need to pass an English proficiency exam and have the results sent from the testing agency directly to the Illinois Department of Financial and Professional Regulation. Then you'll have to have your fingerprints scanned for a background check and prove you have a social security number. If you're planning for a nursing license in Massachusetts, your first step should be to create an account with the e-licensing system. Next, if your nursing education wasn't conducted in English, you have to prove your proficiency by passing a state-approved English test. After that, you must have your credentials evaluated by the Commission on Graduates of Foreign Nursing Schools. Finally, you'll need to fill out a Massachusetts-specific application for foreign-educated nurses and pass the NCLEX. New Jersey's Division of Consumer Affairs requires 5 steps of graduates of foreign nursing programs. First, you must have your credentials reviewed by the Commission on Graduates of Foreign Nursing Schools. Specifically, New Jersey requires that you order the CGFNS Full Education Course-by-Course report. Second, you must provide proof of passing score on the TOEFL exam. Then you must also have your TOEFL results evaluated by the CGFNS. Third, you'll need to submit a completed licensure application. Fourth, you must obtain clearance from a criminal history background check. And fifth and final step is to pass the NCLEX. New York has unique instructions for nurses who've graduated from nursing school in a foreign country. For one thing, New York has a requirement that you must pass approved courses in infection control and child abuse identification and reporting. Like many other states, New York suggests that you have your credentials evaluated using CGFNS. However, be sure to select a specific report called the Credential Verification Service for New York State. Then, the New York State Education Department mandates that the organization that granted your foreign nursing license send the verification of that license directly to them. After those steps are completed, candidates will need to take the NCLEX. If you're applying in Texas, there's a specific application called the Endorsement Application for Graduates of International Programs. On the application, you'll see that you need to submit a Credential Evaluation Service report and a criminal background check. You'll also need to submit proof you passed an English proficiency exam and send verification of your nursing license from your home country. Lastly, you must pass the NCLEX. One final thing worth noting is that Texas is one of the few places where nurses must pass a state-specific exam. That exam is the Texas Nursing Jurisprudence exam, which has a fee of $25. This exam has 50 multiple choice questions, which you will have 2 hours to complete. You must answer 75% of the questions, or 38 questions to be exact, correctly to pass. Luckily, test takers are allowed to access the Texas Board of Nursing's website to help them find answers during the exam. Beyond that, the Texas Board of Nursing created an online prep course for $25 to make studying easier. When you pass the exam, the result will be recorded and posted to the Texas Board of Nursing online system. Your results will be recorded electronically within the Board of Nursing system, and a certificate will be available to print at the end of the exam. If you do not pass the exam, you can retake it after 24 hours, although you'll need to pay the $25 fee again. Although we've only discussed 7 states here, the requirements are likely similar across the country, so this will at least give you a good starting point. No matter what state you plan to work in, you need to pass the NCLEX RN. Before we dive in, let's clarify there are actually 2 different versions of the NCLEX, and the term NCLEX is used by the nursing community to refer to both. The lower level version of the exam is the NCLEX PN, which stands for National Council Licensure Examination for Practical Nurses. This exam is for people who want to become licensed practical nurses, or LPNs. This exam focuses on the basic patient care skills you'll need as a practical nurse who works under the supervision of a registered nurse or a doctor. But the more common NCLEX that people take is the NCLEX RN, which stands for the National Council Licensure Examination for Registered Nurses. This exam is essential for those who want to become registered nurses, or RNs. The registered nurse role opens many more career opportunities because it involves a higher level of responsibility and a broader range of tasks than what you do as an LPN. Plus, if you pass the NCLEX RN, you'll likely still qualify for practical nurse job openings. In this video, we'll be focusing on the NCLEX RN since it's the most widely taken version of the exam, and we'll still be referring to the exam simply as the NCLEX. As we mentioned before, NCLEX is short for the National Council Licensure Examination, and every state nursing board in the U.S. requires nurse candidates to take the exam. The NCLEX is overseen by the National Council of State Boards of Nursing, who have partnered with a company called Pearson VUE to administer the test. To schedule your exam date and pay the fees, you'll need to create an online account with Pearson VUE. The NCLEX will be administered at one of Pearson's professional centers. These are physical testing locations spread all across the U.S. and even overseas. The fee to take the exam is $200, and if you decide to take the exam at one of Pearson VUE's international testing locations, there's an additional $150 fee. However, it's wise to ask the state nursing board where you hope to work if you're allowed to take the NCLEX abroad. This is because, as mentioned earlier, places like Florida and California require you to have a social security number at the time that you apply to be a nurse. But depending on your situation, the international test centers could be a great option. No matter where you take your exam, the NCLEX is administered on a computer using a software called Computer Adaptive Testing, which is a testing format that interactively adjusts your exam as you answer the questions. The purpose of computer adaptive testing is to ensure that the questions you receive match your skill level, so they're not too difficult or too easy. Basically, it works like this. You will start with a question that is relatively easy, then if you answer it correctly, the next question will be slightly more difficult. On the other hand, if you answer an item incorrectly, the following question will be a bit easier. This process continues throughout the exam, allowing the computer to gauge your level of competence. Everyone answers between 75 and 145 questions on the exam. Regardless of the number of questions you receive, 15 of them will be experimental and won't impact your score. These experimental questions are used by the exam administrators to evaluate potential questions for future exams. You'll have up to 6 hours to finish the exam, which includes an introductory tutorial. Breaks are not mandatory, but you can take an optional break after 2 hours of testing and another after 3.5 hours. There are 3 possible outcomes for the NCLEX exam. First, the computer could stop when it's 95% sure your ability is clearly above or clearly below a passing standard. Second, if your ability is close to the passing standard, the exam can continue until you've answered all the questions, then your final score is assessed afterwards. Third, if you run out of time, the computer uses the responses you've given to decide if you pass or fail. Whether you pass or fail, you will receive your official results from the nursing board of the state you intend to work in, not Pearson VUE. So depending on the state, they may send you your results via email, they may post them online, or they may mail a physical copy to you. According to Pearson VUE, you should receive your exam results in 6 weeks or less. If a candidate doesn't pass, the NCSBN provides a candidate performance report, also called the CPR. The CPR will say the exam was failed, list the number of questions answered, and highlight the candidate's strengths and weaknesses. The CPR is designed to help candidates figure out exactly what to study before retaking the exam. Candidates who do not pass will be able to retake the NCLEX 45 days after their attempt and can take the exam up to 8 times per year. Each time a person takes the exam, they'll need to pay the $200 fee again, but hopefully you can avoid retaking the exam or paying additional fees by studying and passing on your first attempt. The content areas of the NCLEX are divided into 4 basic categories, which are safe and effective care environment, health promotion and maintenance, psychosocial integrity, and physiological integrity. A great place to begin is by reviewing a webpage called Prepare for Success, which presents candidates with a candidate bulletin, information flyer, and an NCLEX candidate tutorial designed to help testing candidates get acquainted with the Pearson VUE exam software. After that, you can explore some study resources that are popular among the nursing community. On Amazon, you can find a very well-known book called The Saunders Comprehensive Review for the NCLEX RN, which has over 2,800 customer ratings, averaging 4.7 out of 5 stars. You should be able to get a paperback copy for about $45 or a Kindle version for the same price if you want to start reading right away. The review's latest edition even includes 5,700 NCLEX exam-style questions through an online portal that you can only access after purchasing the book. If you decide to buy the Saunders review directly from Evolve, the company which created the book, it will be slightly more extensive. But the upside is that by purchasing the book through the website, you'll immediately have 30 days of free access to an ebook version of the study guide while you wait for the physical copy to be delivered. Another resource that's actually free is a very thorough YouTube channel called NCLEX Crusade International, featuring instructional videos. The channel is created by a registered nurse who has now made over 180 videos completely dedicated to teaching nursing students how to pass the NCLEX. The channel has over 90,000 subscribers with videos that discuss how the exam is organized, types of questions you'll see, and the subject matter you should know. People who are seeking a multifaceted approach to preparing for the NCLEX can look into the Kaplan Test Prep. Kaplan offers 4 levels of prep courses ranging from $75 to $1,000. Luckily, Kaplan offers a 7-day free trial so you can decide if it's worth it to you. But even the $75 course offers 3 full-length computer adaptive tests that simulate the NCLEX. You'll also have access to over 2,200 practice questions accompanied by answers, detailed explanations, and pharmaceutical flashcards. Plus, Kaplan offers mobile apps for both Apple and Android phones so you can study on the go. A similar online study platform called NCLEX Mastery also offers their services through Apple and Android apps for only $36 a month. If you pay the subscription, you'll have access to more than 3,000 practice questions that are based on past exams. When you check out the platform's ratings in the App Store, you'll see they have a 4.8 out of 5-star rating from over 28,000 users. So it could be a great option if you're looking for something more affordable. If you're looking for an online nursing community, check out the subreddit Pass NCLEX. The group has over 23,000 members with nurse candidates like yourself and nurses who have already passed the NCLEX, and everyone is sharing their experiences. If you have a question or concern, you can post it there and you'll most likely receive a response within 1 or 2 days. If you're searching for more online support, a Facebook group called NCLEX 2024 has more than 80,000 members. The group is private and has more than 1,000 posts each week, so members can count on help from like-minded people. And the group is a mixture of nurses who've already passed the NCLEX and people who still haven't taken the exam. So you benefit from the perspective of people in every part of their nursing journey. Hopefully through these study resources, you'll pass your NCLEX and receive your nursing license so you can start working. Now let's talk about maintaining your license. After you receive your initial license, you'll need to renew it every 2 to 3 years. Each state has its own guidelines, fees, and continuing education requirements for nursing license renewals, so it's important to research the specific criteria for the state where you plan to practice. With that said, let's explore the requirements nurses need to maintain their licenses in some of the most popular states for immigrants. California requires nurses to complete 30 hours of continuing education for each 2-year licensure period with a renewal fee of $190. One great thing about California is that the Board of Registered Nursing explicitly states that there's no limit to the number of contact hours that can be completed through independent or home study courses, which is perfect for people with busy schedules. It's also worth noting that in California, you might be required to submit new fingerprints each time you renew your license. Nurses in Florida are required to complete 24 hours of continuing education each 2-year renewal cycle, which Florida calls a biennium. The fee for each biennium will be $75, and nurses will be required to fulfill specific course requirements, which you can learn about on the Florida Nursing Frequently Asked Questions page. As for Illinois, nurses need to complete 20 hours of continuing education every 2-year license renewal period, and the fee to renew is calculated at $40 per year, which means $80 every 2 years. To maintain a license in Massachusetts, nurses will need 15 hours of continuing education for every 2-year licensing period, and you'll need to pay a $120 fee. The Massachusetts Board of Registration in Nursing doesn't have a list of approved courses, but instead provides a PDF outlining the criteria for continuing education. Folks who practice in New Jersey will need to complete 30 hours of continuing education every 2 years and pay a fee of $120. Also, New Jersey requires that continuing education courses are approved by an organization that is accredited by the American Nurses Credentialing Center. Unlike most states, in New York, your nursing license needs to be updated every 3 years. However, the first time you renew it, your license period will be shortened to match your birth month. Don't worry though, the New York Office of Professions will adjust your payment so you only pay for the time you can actually practice. After that, you'll pay a fee of $35 every 3 years. New York doesn't have continuing education requirements like other states because their licenses are valid for life unless the license is revoked for a specific reason. The only class you need is a short course regarding infection control, which you should take every 4 years. Finally, in Texas, you'll need to renew your license every 2 years and pay a fee of $68. Within the licensing period, you must complete 20 hours of continuing education, or you can demonstrate that you've achieved or renewed a board-approved nursing certification in your practice area. To help you find those certification programs, the Texas Board of Nursing provides a comprehensive list. All right, that wraps up a few of the most popular states for immigrants in the U.S., but keep in mind that many states have similar requirements for nurses. So the processes and requirements we focused on in this video are likely similar to those across most of the United States. As you prepare to move to the U.S., remember that there's a growing demand for nurses. The journey might be difficult at times, but if you get your nursing license in the U.S., you should be able to earn a great income using the education experience you already have while bringing valuable skills to your new community. No matter what country you're coming from, relocating to the United States often requires official English translations of your important documents. You could need translations of college transcripts, your marriage license, your birth certificate, or your original nursing license. In any case, having certified translations is essential. Just reach out to us and we'll be happy to get you the translations you need. And although the journey may be overwhelming at times, always remember that once you receive your license, you will be able to use your hard-earned knowledge and training in a field you're passionate about and where you are needed. Thank you, and see you in our next video as we continue to explore licensed professions.